So just quickly, there's several different strategies we can use to kind of regulate the nervous system and bring it back into the resilient zone. Some of them are a little bit more detailed and a little bit more lengthy in how we cultivate them, and are not necessarily, and can be used after you've practiced them in a pinch, you know, when you're feeling like you're getting knocked up high or knocked down low. The help now strategies are much shorter and designed in general just to do a quick reset of our nervous system. So I would encourage people to use these, but then also to hopefully move on to resourcing and grounding. So so here are the strategies, and people can just take a look at these. I'll leave them up there for a while, but the whole idea, the big idea here is, how do we take our mind off of what's going on in the outside world and what's swirling around inside of our head and bring it back to the present moment, even just for a second? Because remember, when we're out of regulation on our nervous system, there's something that's fueling that. There's something that's kind of keeping me up into that high zone or keeping me down into that low zone. And it might be a thought, right? It might be a thought that I keep ruminating on about this time, and that thought could keep me knocked up high or down low. It also could be a distortion of reality, that I'm seeing the world in a way that is not really true, but it's that negativity bias, for example, right? So what we need to do is just try to insert something in there that will kind of break that cycle. And all 10 of these strategies, which again are developed and have come to us through the Trauma Resource Institute, are strategies that we can use. They're also strategies, Tim, that we can use with other people. So for example, let's say, and I invite people to try these even as we're talking now, but certainly afterwards, is like, for example, if you have a room full of people and there's agitation, or even if it's just your family and there's agitation and there's talking or whatever, if you just say, hey, could we all just try to listen for 3 sounds inside the room, and see if you can identify those 3 sounds? And then after you give them a few minutes to do that, you say, can we identify 3 sounds outside the room? So what you'll notice, and I've done this many, many times, and I've done this with young kids, with old kids, with adults, that when you do this, first of all, immediately the room falls silent. Second of all, people's attention focus away from what's going on inside their head and mind, right? And that automatically, the key here is, one thing I forgot to mention earlier that's a really important point, is when we are knocked up high and knocked down low, I did talk about how we're not thinking clearly. The reason we're not thinking clearly is because the lower forms of our brain, the limbic and survival brain, have taken over, which is what we want in a time of danger. They've taken over, but the thinking brain, the cortex, has gone largely offline. So we can't really talk ourselves off the cliff, so to speak. So what we need to do is we need to shift away from that cortex down to the body. So these strategies shift our attention away from our thinking brain into our emotional and our survival brain. So when you do that, even if you just do it for yourself, you stop, listen for 3 sounds in the room, 3 sounds out of the room. Even just doing that here, I can notice that my shoulders start to sink a little bit more. My heart rate just dropped. Now that may not work for you. So you might want to try looking for 6 colors in the room, noticing the temperature in the room. You can touch a piece of furniture. Like I do this often when I'm teaching. I'll just place my hand on the desk in front of me, bring my attention to the sensations that are happening between my hand. And for me right now, that's a kind of cool sensation, which for me, that's a pleasant sensation. And it just automatically downregulates my nervous system. So these are 10 strategies that are can be useful for you when you're feeling kind of agitated or knocked up high and you want to bring yourself down, as a quick kind of pick me up, if you will, as a quick way of kind of regulating ourselves. But again, they're also, to Tim's point, there's things you can start to use with other people, and you can say something like, you know, I've found it really helpful to touch something from nature and notice the sensations. Would you like to do that with me now? Or I find it helpful to kind of push against a wall and notice the sensations. Would you like to try that with me? And again, through doing that, you can kind of coach people through it and help them as well as you.